is scaling a business using a no-code tool different from scaling a normal business? Who would like to start off? Michael, would you like to start off? What are you thinking?
Yeah. So I think having a no-code tool backing your business puts you kind of somewhere between like a regular business that maybe is going to grow nicely, but doesn't have that ability to supercharge, and a startup that has like millions of dollars of capital and a huge dev team, and you can kind of move at the speed of one of those highly capitalized, full of engineers startups with the resources of a more traditional small business.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Let's see. Now, David, do you agree with that more? What are you thinking?
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is, you can actually really afford to start really small now. So, in the past, when you were trying to look for capital and you needed to, let's say, have your mock-ups ready to go, and then you were trying to get funding. And at that point, you're really trying to set your sights like immediately very high. But, I think now it's actually better to not saying that you shouldn't have huge aspirations, but to actually more strategically think how whatever you're creating can start really small. How can I solve this for just a few people in just a small community? For example, it's easy to go back to Facebook, but they just started Harvard and then went other places, right? It's an easy store for people to align to. So, you can do that now with your own type of thing. How can you make an app that maybe it's not for every barber in the world to use, for people to book haircuts, but how can it just be for just people to get the same type of haircuts that you do in just your small little neck of the woods, right? And then how can you create an amazing community there? And then, okay, I figured out something. Now how I take it to the next level. And that wasn't possible to get real KPIs and real users, or I shouldn't say it was not possible, but it was very difficult without no code, unless you had the coding experience and the design experience and all the things necessary.
Makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much. Oh, and the chat is saying hello. We got Paul in the chat, Susan, Lola, everyone just loving this event already, talking about it. So, and great responses with these questions. So thank you so much. Now, Marcin, am I saying that correctly?
Correctly.
Okay, awesome. Could I love to hear your perspective on this?
Yes, I think very similarly. From a business perspective, I think it can also be like an additional income stream. So if you already have a business where you are selling services, creating apps for people, custom apps, etc., well, you can also have another income stream where you're creating these minimal viable products for apps, for example, that don't even if there are some limitations on the current no-code tools, you can still take advantage of them and sell those services with those limitations as it could cost a little less, that product. And I love what Michael said about boosting your production. I think a lot of the companies that now can have in their tool belt those no-code tools, they have the first movers advantage. In the future, I see probably all companies will have to have that, because otherwise they won't be able to compete with the other companies. So that's my take on it. I love the minimal viable product concept. I love that you're able to take no code, pump out the products of your dream, and see if it's working, right? Without having to move a lot of money and hire a lot of developers, et cetera, et cetera.
That's good. That makes sense. So very quickly, agile, be able to move to the market. Great to see this. Jiaqi, what do you think? I would just like to say, didn't Landbot, I remember when you were on Product Hunt for the 3.0 and you created this whole story. It was crazy. I don't even remember. I just remember it was a whole storyline in a game within Landbot, which I was like, that's insane. So talk about that a little bit. Not about that. I just went on a rant about that. But Jiaqi, talk about whatever you'd like. What you had in store. That's the side point.
Yeah, no, for sure. I can talk about both issues here. So relate to the point about comparing a business with no code versus standard business. I think the two things that came out is the standout. Is the speed and the cost, right? So I think for businesses that is using no-code solutions, they have the advantage of being extremely fast of validating the customer and their business assumptions. And then with that, they can, with very low cost, iterate and adapt to until they find their product market fit, right? And that's a very powerful a competitive advantage that not even maybe Michael was comparing to like a successful company with large development resources. Not even I think they are able to do, because still the larger you get, actually it gets harder to coordinate all those resources and build stuff, right? So I think this is an advantage for companies who identify some interesting niche opportunity and then iterate extremely fast to find the product market fit. Then the second thing you were talking about is the no-code game we built, right? It was an interesting thing because when we wanted to launch the new version of Lambot, we thought, hey, let's skip all those old-fashioned product launch. Let's try to do something different, right? So we ended up building kind of this graphic novel story, where people have to go through different conversations and then finding out clues to kind of help to save the no-code world, right? And it becomes suddenly viral. Like we have a bunch of people just tweeting and sharing it all around the world, and it was crazy.
Yeah, I was so confused by how you did it. And I was referencing it last night on the show, and I was like, that was so great. That was so great. That was and it was immersive. And yeah, it was awesome. And it was a great PR. I think that was for like in July or 3.0. It was great. Oh, what did you say, Jiaqi? I apologize.
Yeah, but do you know the real key of that launch?
No.
It was Tom Osman, who was the actor.
Oh, in MakerPad? I forgot about that. Yeah. That was awesome. That was so good. Jiaqi, I need that link because I was trying to explain that to someone how brilliant that was later. But that's besides the point. Alexander says, Jiaqi, I agree with you totally. Even in Facebook Marketplace is not so great, but he's still adapting. Alexander is saying he loves to hear these ideas. So that's good to go. Thank you so much for all these points. Really good stuff.